suggested resolution is that the information be received. Department of Conservation representatives be thanked for their presentation. Is there a mover? Moved Councillor Hickling, seconded Councillor Downard. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving to Strategic Relationships Advisor. That's what it says, but it's not right. It's Enterprise Great Lake Taupo, and I think we've probably got, yes we have, we've got Fritz. And who? And Jeff. Oh yes, Jeff. Can't see in the glare of the light down there. Whoa. Yeah, no, bro, yeah. It's from the president.
Kia ora tātou, Mayor and Councillors, congratulations on this. Thank you. Just, Fritz is ready. Introduce myself. I am your representative on PGLT, in case you don't know. I've been there for a bit under a year. I was invited to be on the trust because of my forestry background. I work for Lake Taupo and Lake Rotowaro Forest Trusts, who own about 50,000 hectares of land down on the east and southern sides of Lake Taupo, and there's a forestry project on your books, so it's been great for me to be involved in this. I'll just give a brief introduction and a few points before handing it over to Fritz, but this is what the model is. 12 possible trustees, as you can see, made up of those. At the moment, we don't have that many. This is who the board's comprised of. And I won't go through those except to say that I think they're working really well. There's a good mix of expertise on the trust. Just one thing I'll point out, Jeremy Bright, the new Chamber of Commerce rep, the previous one was Rob Marshall, who'd been there for a while and made really big contributions to the trust, has moved on, so we welcome Jeremy onto it. Okay, so just take you through a few things from my area of expertise, the state of the forest industry. As I say, I work for two large forest trusts in the area. We are in a joint venture with the New Zealand government, which we're gradually taking over. We produce about 700,000 tonnes of logs every year. It's about 100 truck and trailers a day from our forests. But you can't get away from the fact that what we're doing is growing trees. We're growing stuff that people use for building, and internationally there's not a lot of that going on. So it's a little bit average at the moment, the forest industry. We're a little bit insulated from that, I guess, because we are at least on the doorstep of one of the few areas in the world that is doing okay. It's Asia. But having said that, domestic processes are struggling, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Forestry project is the one which was on the way that you and ourselves were involved in, and lots of other parties along the way, trying to encourage more investment in processing in this area. And I totally agree that what we have here is a lot more wood produced than we have processing capacity, Tenon being the only significant mill in the area, and there's certainly room for that to improve, and I think this project has done a good job of facilitating this to a state where it hopefully will make it easy for someone to invest here, show what the opportunity is, and show that the district is willing, and also the complementary components, particularly our geothermal opportunities here that can work in with it. I'll just touch on EGLT funding, and thank you as councillors for backing us and improving our funding at the latest round there. We certainly don't take that for granted. We're going through a strategic planning exercise now to just confirm how we intend to use that money, and part of that will be specifically improving our communications, not only with you but also with the general public. We recognise that not everyone in the district agrees that we should have that level of funding, and we don't think we've done as good a job as we could have in letting them know exactly what we do and measuring that. So hopefully we'll be doing a better job in that regard. The Clean Energy Centre, no doubt you've taken a close interest in that, and as you know, the EGLT has taken over the administration of that as a sort of a caretaker role from April this year. One of the main things initially was just to sort of tidy up the administration, the rental arrangements and contracts, but looking ahead, the big thing that we've done more recently is to commission a study as to what that centre can be used for. We haven't got the report back yet, but we're optimistic that there'll be a viable use will be identified. When we get that report, we'll be making some recommendation in terms of EGLT's ongoing involvement. Well, that will depend on whether the recommendation is something which also supports business development, which is our kaupapa, and so if it does, we could well be involved. It might identify projects that are equally viable but not really in our sphere of activity, in which case it might be someone else who should be involved. But you can see there the main steps that we've been taking since April. So that's my brief introduction. If there's no questions, or you can question me later, I'll hand it over to Fritz.
Thank you, Jeff. Councillors, council staff. I've got the apologies for my trustees today. We've tried to get as many here as we could. Unfortunately, most of them are busy people and they've got things in their lives to run, so I apologise. Now, I've got about 10 minutes and 6 seconds left to run through what should have taken half an hour. So if I go at a bit of speed, I'll apologise. If there's any questions, please, at any time, we really value your feedback. That's why we like these biannual sessions. And interrupt me at any time. I'll go as quick as I can. I know it's going to be a bit rushed, but please stop me where I get to. And I've cut out a few things that you've probably heard about, and I'll concentrate on the facts that are really the important ones for us. Just quickly going back, just going through Taupo's contact, just again, in the last 6 years, we just updated those. We've built a lot of houses. Population has actually gone up by about 700 people, but jobs have gone down by just over 300. So this is sort of the picture we've seen over the last 6 years in Taupo. The latest numbers for June 2012, which we've got Sean Bevan to look at for us, is unemployment in Taupo is 6.2%. That is still over 1,000 people, just on 1,059, compared to like 2007 when it was just on about 15. So there is a lot of people out there hurting that we really feel responsible and need to do something about. One thing to note though, New Zealand's unemployment rate sitting at 6.6, and statistically, looking back, Taupo's always fared slightly better than the rest of New Zealand. So that's one thing I guess we can look for. Looking forward, if we carry on the way we are at the moment, then we look at a population growth of just over 500 for the next 20 years. There's some statistics we're getting out of the Ministry of Statistics. There's got to be a lot of job pressure. There's going to be a few new people, a bit of ageing, and some new houses. That is sort of the picture if we carry on the way we are. Just a quick bit of context where we are aligned regionally. We've sort of made a decision consciously about a year ago to align ourselves a lot more with the Bay of Plenty, with the Bay of Connections particularly, and they've sort of embraced us even though we are not strictly speaking in their district, and we've been involved in quite a few of their projects, but we've kept $1 each way, or actually about 20 cents the Hamilton way, and we still engage with Opportunity Hamilton, which we fit in on a sort of strictly boundary speaking drawing line of action, and Opportunity Hamilton is our partner in some of the services I get to talk to in a minute. Just to briefly quick up again, the hub, and this concept's getting stronger and stronger now. This is sort of the town centre Taupo. Also we're counting Will in there, even though Will sits sort of within you here. Enterprise Great Taupo, us, Erupt Arts Festival, Events Capital, and Destination Great Lake Taupo. So with the appointment of Vanessa, that's been greatly strengthened. We have to be happy to say we've got like at least sort of weekly meetings that we have informally. We have an informal meeting every first Monday of every month. And we are on the move. On the 1st of February, we're moving to a new place, which is going to be the old Scenic Sellers auction room upstairs. It took us over a year and a half to find it. It's very good cost-wise. We found someone that's willing to take our price. And it's going to be open plan, so it's going to be much easier for us to interact, work together, and we're going to hopefully have new fibre in there and a couple of meeting rooms so people can come and see us. So all up, we'll have slightly less space, but we're just going to squash in and it'll work just well. Here's sort of a slide that we've used quite a lot in the past, and I have to credit Will Samuels for this. So just to show you a little bit about how we work. This small little wheel there, that's us. So we sort of work with business mostly, but we also work with government. Obviously you, but also the national government. We have to thank Louise Upson for a lot of help there, where we get in front of people like John Key, Tim Grosser, David Carter, has all been to Taupo now, and we've had one-on-ones to brief him on some of the projects we run. But then we have industry groups, iwi investors, businesses, schools, universities, and these are all these big wheels who are grinding along on us guys in the middle there, and it's quite often really like a coalition of the willing, where we go out and we find raving fans in Taupo. We sort of follow pretty much by Taupo's model here. They've started this. When I said find the right people in the right areas and work with those, and that's sort of the theme we're following up on. Coming through, one thing I really want to point out here too, that is the 350,000 we've been given. We're very mindful that this is ratepayers' money. We're very, very careful with that money. We leverage everything we have. So everything we do, like our website up to date, has cost us nothing. Traffic sponsored that for us, and they've signed on for another year. We've got business mentors, we got Youth Town, there's Eco, Contact. We pretty much partner with everything. Every dollar we get, we try and leverage into at least another dollar. And one thing I'll talk about it in just a little bit later of how that actually physically works. Just briefly talking about how we split ourselves up pretty much, and you've heard this before, I just want to briefly run over it again. The main part of our component, and these sort of sizes are sort of indicative of how much time and how much sort of money and effort we spend on this, is small and medium enterprises up to 19 full-time employees. That is sort of one area we work in, and that is around about 65% of our time and 65% of our money. That is where the most of the effort sits at the moment. It's purely because around about 97% of all businesses in New Zealand employ less than 19 people. They only account for around about just over a third of the total output GDP for New Zealand, but that's our bread and butter. That's what we focused on, and I'll run through a couple of things. So I'm going to report on quite a few of the things on the small and medium enterprises. Then in the middle, we've got the large business attraction. That's something that Jeff touched on, the forestry project we're running. We've got 3 others, and I've got some others I want to talk about briefly. And then the high growth initiative, where we've taken businesses that are starting out that can create high value, export, and high value employment. I'm going to leave that to one side because you're well briefed on that. That is running very well. Matthew's looking after that. And then the one thing on the bottom that underlines all of that is sort of the business attraction, which, because we're reporting for last year, we haven't done a hell of a lot of, simply because we didn't have a lot of money to do in that space. We just couldn't buy a hell of a lot of advertising or do a lot there. And the same with the public profile, understanding of what we do for the general public. The business community has got a very good handle on what we do, but the public, which we've seen from the LTTP submissions, clearly is sort of lacking a little bit what we do, because when we saw the submissions there saying that we shouldn't spend any money on public sculptures, that we agree with that, and we don't anyway, but they thought we did, you know, which gave us a good steer that we're falling quite short there. So we've taken some steps to remedy that. Launching straight into this one here, and you've seen this slide before, I just wanted to bring it up again, where 97% of businesses employ less than 19 staff. In fact, 68%, this big blue box here, employs no people at all. They'll be like the sole traders who have like a limited liability structure or a trust, and they'll run away, they either do plumbing or services that they're running without any staff at all. And that is sort of definitely the bulk also in Taupo, and the mainstay of our business, where we have a lot of business that come in our door almost on a daily basis. Hey, look, I've got 5 staff, I do this, can you help us? So I'm going to run through some of the things that we do there. So just before I get to that though, the number of industry events we hosted last year, 21. We had 896 people coming to those events. The main one for us, the Movers and Shakers, is sort of a 3 times annual event now, where we get sort of around about 80 to 100 people there of larger industries that are sort of the employers of 19 people or more. That's the ones we're targeting there. And all of your councillors, of course, are always invited to come to those. They're well attended. And again, we've partnered with Stratton's. They're tipping in a lot of the money, and every one we got a sponsor for. So we're actually running these cost neutral, believe it or not, at this point. So coming to the small business ones there then, and I've got roughly 3 minutes left. So for $150, you can get a mentor in Taupo for a period of 2 years. It used to be based in Rotorua. It is now based in Taupo, and Anne Battersby is running this very, very successfully. You see from the numbers in a minute. It is community-based mentoring, where mentors in the community feel they'll give back something to the business community and give their time for free. They do get a reimbursement for kilometres, but I've not seen anybody claim those yet. So the numbers, we've got an A rating as of 2011. May 2011, we got that A rating. The number of community mentors is 18 now, up from 3 the year prior when we started. And 38 businesses received one-on-one mentoring since the 1st of July 2011 to the end of June this year, which for $150 plus GST for up to 2 years. And if they had one mentor which helped them, say, with accounting, they can then move to another mentor that might give them help in marketing or anything else in between. And Anne Battersby runs that really, really tight ship there. She's really, really responsible for making this work. Following on from this, New Zealand Trade and Enterprises launched something called the Voucher Scheme, which we've really jumped on board, and that's where we need Hamilton and the Waikato. All of a sudden we're back in the Waikato because they're willing to give us some money. The way that works is, so once you had your business mentors, and what quite often happens is most of the inquiries that come in, they say, oh, I need help with my marketing. Pretty much, 90% of the cases, got to be a business mentor for 6 years, it actually turns out they need help in accounting. Pretty much 80% of people are short in that area, and they need specialist help. This is where this one picks up from the business mentoring. So we just started this year as a follow-on service. It's our bread and butter, and it works very well. The way it works is that we get 50% up to $10,000 on a dollar-for-dollar basis for a small business. So if a small business here in Mangakino needed help with their accounting, they can come to us and we'll help them get, say, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 on a dollar-for-dollar basis, and a dedicated trainer would come in and give them that help. So it's hands-on help, and it's knowledge transfer. So the trainer will sit with them there and transfer the knowledge so they can do that themselves. What we had is that we have also now 6 registered service providers in Taupo, up from 1 from last year. We've only had 1 registered service provider, which is quite important. In the past, New Zealand Trade Enterprise didn't think that was important, but a lot of feedback we gave them, we said, look, local people want to go to local providers. If you have good local providers, the local people will come and ask for help. And that has certainly been the case. Like last year, I think we had no vouchers issued for Taupo at all, or Turangi or Mangakino. Whereas this year, we've had issued around about 10 vouchers, close to $68,000 or $65,000 that's been given to small businesses. Another very important number that I hope you'd all write down is the 4th, and it's the 4th of December. It's going to be the official launch at the BNZ, where Anne Battersby will be presenting those 6 service providers. There'll be a small presentation. Opportunity Hamilton will come down with one of the people from NZTE as well, and we're going to get as many people there as we can, so please spread the word. If you can, any way you can, you'll be very welcome to come along. 4th of December, BNZ at Taupo. Moving along, seeing that we had Turangi and Mangakino there, what are we doing there? It's probably going to be the next question. I want to just briefly talk about that because we do have a brief, and my trustees have given me a very strict, clear steer that Turangi and Mangakino is an important area for us. In Turangi, we are, and this is still in development stage at this point. In Turangi, we really would like to partner with the Turangi-Tongariro Promotional Association. We don't want to create yet another trust or yet another entity in some shape or form. We'd like to partner with them. We can do it on our own. That was the initial plan, but that doesn't make much sense if you can partner there because there's also help and events required. Vanessa Freeman from Destination Like Taupo we have talked to also. So we're all keen to just get that one organisation there in whatever shape or form we're working on at the moment, with a chair there and some dedicated people there, to get that to the next step that we can just put that person into that organisation. And then employ or contract a Turangi dedicated business person that would then also look after events and liaise back to the hub, come to the hub meetings and be part of our team. So we're not doing it in isolation like in the past we have. Mangakino has been very easy. We just had a board meeting here. Thank you to Kirsty for hosting us and Tina Jakes from the Community-Led Development. And we're about to go advertise for a position here that we want to put someone in this community that will primarily offer those services like the business mentoring and the voucher scheme, because that is what's mostly needed here. Lots and lots of small businesses who need some of that help, and we want a dedicated person here who can provide that. Again, that person will come and report back into the hub and be part of the hub team, so they're not in isolation and not going to be on their own. They're going to be part of a bigger team. Moving quickly, geothermal systems, you've seen this before. This is our shopping mall concept. We've talked about this quite a bit, where we identify geothermal, forestry, agriculture, tourism, and people as one of the key corner tenants in what Taupo offers. And this is now talking about the larger business attraction one. We're working on all of them. We're working with some tourism providers at the moment, but we're going to focus on geothermal heat users especially, because Taupo has got an abundance of geothermal. There's a couple of projects underway which I'll briefly talk to about in a minute. But that's where we see the unique selling proposition is for Taupo. I mean, anybody can say, Queensland can say, come here, we're never going to rival Queensland. Whoever says that is just dreaming. But we can rival the world in the use of geothermal heat, especially in the heat area. So what we're doing there, these are game-changing businesses, 19 plus staff. Ideally, we're going to aim for 50 to 100, and they're going to be ideally in manufacturing. We don't want to just steal business in Taupo or other regions. We want to create businesses just like the Pawn Park that wouldn't exist anywhere else because the electricity bill would just prohibit it. It's as simple as that. So So the main ones we're working on is aquaculture. I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit. That was sort of a brainchild that came up on a napkin again. That's Will Samuels to blame for this. And we have to say we partnered up with about 6, 7 different investors who've all put in money. We've also then partnered with the University of Waikato, and we've hired a first-year student who's done a marvelous job. And we've just got this, it's just been off the printers not too long ago. Unfortunately, this is still embargoed for another 6 weeks, at which time we'll publicly release it. So the investors had a year head start on this publication. It lists freshwater species that can be grown, especially with geothermal enhanced conditions, and it lists the 10 most profitable freshwater species in the world. And we've worked with traders around the world to identify those species. There's about 6 investors chasing this. Now, one of the people that's actually involved in this is Taupo-Kaingaroa, the Maori Fisheries, has been involved in this, and there's been another 6 investors who've put money into this and partnered with us. It's going to come out and be available publicly end of January, at which time we'll release it. And then there's some other projects at the moment which we are chasing along: the data center, forest project, and then the heat park. The heat park being, we're working with some investors at the moment to put a greenfield investment into place where businesses can come here and plug in and use the heat directly. So we're going to target specifically businesses who are going to use large quantities of heat. Because if you came to town and said, set yourself up in Taupo, they go, well, I could buy land cheaper here or there, it doesn't really matter where I am. But Taupo is central, and if we could knock off 30% of their operating expenses for heat use, they'll definitely be operating here. So that's sort of the thing we are going to follow there. Moving forward, looking forward, my time is over already, I'm already 5 minutes over. So just briefly, looking forward, one of the things we do want to do, and we've not done a lot last year, is that we've bought the websites Open for Business, every single one of them that we could get our hands on. openforbusiness.co.nz, the whole lot. And we'd really like to get an annual publication going that in the second year will be almost cost neutral, that we're going to feature and showcase. So this is not going to be just another shiny brochure. We really want to get like a selling prospectus of what has Taupo got to offer, why should a business relocate here, and we're hoping to have this we will have this published by next year, and it'll feature business also in Mangakino and Turangi and from the district, from a variety of those anchor tenant areas, and we'll print around about 8,000 to 10,000 of those and distribute those far and wide and use those primarily as our tool to get them going. That was everything in 15 minutes, pretty much. Any questions?
Any questions, fellow councillors? Okay, very good presentation where there's covered everything there. So there's a suggested resolution here that the information be received and that representatives of Enterprise Great Lake Cultural Trust be thanked for their presentation. So Fritz and Jeff, I look for a mover and a seconder to thank you. Councillor Williams, Councillor Kirk, all those in favour? Aye. Aye, so thank you very much for your presentation. Keep up the good work and look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Okay, team, moving forward now to agenda item number 4, which should be the minutes of the meeting, council meeting, the last one held on the 30th of October 2012, and they will take you through to 4/11. Before I ask for a mover or a seconder, are there any amendments or alterations, either spelling, grammatical or factual, to these minutes? There being no amendments, I would ask for a mover and a seconder, please. Mover, moved, Councillor Johnson, seconded, Councillor Kirk, all those in favour?
Aye.